3 ordinary coins fell into my palm like loose change, but the moment I looked closer, the room felt different. A 1965 Roosevelt dime whispered about a year when silver vanished and history quietly shifted. A 1972 Jefferson nickel carried the weight of a nation between wars, oil crises, and hidden mint stories. A 1997 Lincoln 1-cent coin looked modern, innocent, almost worthless at first glance. But together, they didn't feel random. They felt chosen. Each scratch was a timestamp. Each edge held a secret no one talks about. What if these coins survived something bigger than time? What if one of them was never meant to circulate? Collectors overlook them every day. Pocket change hides them in plain sight. Banks pass them without a second thought. Yet one detail connects all 3 in a way that feels impossible. A change in metal, a change in era, a change in value no one noticed. Miss that detail, and you lose the story forever. Catch it, and you'll never look at loose change the same again, because one of these coins might still be waiting, right now, in your pocket. The story of the 1965 Roosevelt dime begins at a turning point in United States coinage. The nation was experiencing an unprecedented coin shortage during the early to mid-1960s, and this shortage affected every denomination in circulation. Millions of Americans complained that stores, banks, and vending machines lacked enough coins to meet daily demand. The United States Mint faced tremendous pressure to solve this problem, and the answer came in the form of a major change in the composition of circulating coins. The year 1965 was the beginning of a new era for American dimes. Before 1965, the Roosevelt dime was struck in 90% silver and 10% copper. This silver composition had existed since the introduction of the dime in 1796, and it continued through the Mercury dime era and into the Roosevelt series. However, rising silver prices during the early 60s caused the metal value of the dime to approach the face value. People began hoarding coins, fearing that silver would soon be worth more than the coin itself. As a result, silver coins rapidly disappeared from circulation, creating even more shortages. Congress and the United States Mint needed a solution, and that solution came through the Coinage Act of 1965. The Coinage Act of 1965 removed silver from the dime and quarter and reduced silver content in the half-dollar. For the dime, this meant a complete shift from a silver-based planchet to a clad planchet made of copper and nickel. The new dimes featured a copper core with outer layers of cupra-nickel, which created the familiar silvery appearance seen today. This change was revolutionary because it permanently ended the use of silver in America's 10-cent coin. The first year of this modern composition was 1965, which makes the 1965 dime historically important. The design of the 1965 Roosevelt dime remained the same. The obverse features the portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, created by Chief Engraver John R. Sinnock. Roosevelt had been honored on the dime in 1946 following his death, and in recognition of his leadership and his connection to the March of Dimes campaign, which fought polio. The reverse also remained unchanged, featuring a torch symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch representing peace and an oak branch representing strength. Even though the material changed, the artwork continued the tradition of Roosevelt's legacy. Another important detail about 1965 dimes is that they were produced without mint marks. From 1965 through 1967, the Mint decided to remove mint marks from all circulating coins as a strategy to discourage hoarding. Collectors at the time were searching for different mint mark varieties, and this caused people to keep large numbers of new coins out of circulation. The Mint believed that by removing mint marks, it would eliminate any incentive for people to hoard newly issued coins. As a result, all 1965 dimes were struck, without mint marks regardless of the facility that made them. Most 1965 Roosevelt dimes were produced at the Philadelphia Mint and the production numbers were enormous. The mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins in order to refill the national supply and end the shortage. The high mintage means that the majority of 1965 dimes are still common today, and they remain easy to find in circulation more than half a century later. Although common, the 1965 dime is a historic transition piece marking the divide between silver coinage and modern-clad coinage. There is also an interesting story surrounding the accidental creation of rare transitional error coins. A very small number of 1965 dimes were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964. These transitional errors are extremely rare and highly valuable today. They serve as reminders of the logistical challenges the mint faced while switching from silver to clad planchets. For collectors, these silver 1965 dimes represent one of the most exciting modern numismatic discoveries. The new clad dime proved to be durable and efficient for mass production. Over time, Americans became accustomed to the new metallic appearance, sound, and feel of their coins. The shift away from silver reflected larger economic realities of the era, and it shaped the future of American coinage. The 1965 dime became the foundation for all dimes produced afterward. Its copper-nickel sandwich structure remains unchanged to this day. For many collectors, the 1965 Roosevelt dime is significant not because of rarity, but because of its role in American monetary history. It symbolizes the modernization of U.S. coinage, the government's response to a nationwide crisis, and the beginning of a new era where face value and metal value were no longer tied closely together. The coin tells a story of economic adaptation, political decision-making, and technological change within the mint. It is a simple 10-cent piece, but it carries a deep historical legacy. In summary, the Roosevelt dime of 1965 marks the turning point between silver coinage and the clad coinage system used today. It was produced during a national coin shortage and was part of sweeping changes made to stabilize the economy. Its design honors President Franklin D. Roosevelt, while its composition reflects modern economic realities. The 1965 dime is a cornerstone of the United States coinage history, and its story continues to interest collectors, historians, and everyday Americans who handle these coins without knowing the journey they represent. The deeper history of the 1965 Roosevelt dime also connects to the global economic climate of the mid-20th century. During this period, the world was still adjusting to the post-war economy, and precious metal markets were becoming increasingly unstable. Silver prices rose steadily because of industrial demand and growing international investment. The United States, which had relied heavily on silver for its coins, realized that it could no longer sustain the large-scale use of silver in everyday circulating currency. The mint needed a long-term solution that could handle mass production and withstand the financial pressures caused by the rising value of metals. The 1965 clad dime became the answer to that challenge. The decision to remove silver from the dime was not taken lightly. There were heated debates in Congress about whether the public would accept coins that no longer contained precious metals. Many Americans viewed silver coins as a symbol of trust and stability. Some believed that removing silver would make coins feel cheaper and less valuable. Others argued that the government needed to be practical and look toward the future. President Lyndon B. Johnson strongly supported the Coinage Act of 1965 and reassured the nation that the new coins would still hold their full value. His public message helped calm concerns and encourage people to embrace the new currency. Behind the scenes, the United States Mint had to modernize its equipment and adjust its production methods to handle the new copper-nickel-clad planchets. Striking a coin with layered metals required different pressure settings, different rolling techniques for preparing metal strips, and more careful quality control. The Mint conducted numerous tests to ensure the new dimes would be durable and resistant to wear. Engineers confirmed that the clad structure actually improved the lifespan of the dime and made it less prone to bending or warping. This upgrade in durability was an unexpected benefit of the new composition. Another important part of the story is the timeline of production. Although the dimes are dated 1965, many were struck during later years because the mint froze the date on all coins from 1965 through 1967. This was done to smooth production and discourage collectors from searching for specific dates. As a result, a dime marked 1965 could actually have been struck in 1966 or even 1967. This unusual practice confused some collectors, but it helped the mint focus on producing enough coins to end the shortage. It also meant that the 1965 dime represents not just a single year, but an entire transitional period in American numismatics. When the new dimes entered circulation, public reaction was mixed. Some people immediately began collecting the last year of silver dimes from 1964, while others took interest in the brand-new clad dimes. Vending machine manufacturers had to adapt their coin validation systems because the electromagnetic signature of a silver coin was slightly different from a copper-nickel coin. These adjustments took time, but they helped modernize machine technology across the country. The process demonstrated how deeply connected coins were to daily life and how even a small change in metal composition affected entire industries. The history of the 1972 Jefferson nickel begins long before the coin itself was minted because its roots go back to the late 1930s when the United States Mint wanted to replace the Buffalo nickel that had been in circulation since 1913 and had become difficult to strike with consistent detail. The mint selected a design honoring Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers and the third president of the United States, and his famous home Monticello. The design by artist Felix Schlag became the standard nickel for decades, and by the time 1972 arrived, it had already been circulating for more than 30 years, making it a familiar part of American pocket change. The year 1972 was a time of great transition in the United States as the nation was in the middle of the Vietnam War and social and economic changes were transforming the country. Coins minted during this era reflect a mixture of tradition and modern production techniques. The 1972 Jefferson nickel was struck at 3 facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Each mint used the classic Felix Schlag design featuring the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse with the motto, "In God We Trust," and the word liberty placed in a distinctive script along with the date 1972. The reverse displays Monticello Jefferson's iconic home with the inscriptions E Pluribus Unum, Monticello 5 cents, and United States of America. The Philadelphia Mint struck the largest number of 1972 Jefferson nickels, producing hundreds of millions of pieces. Without a mint mark, they are easily identifiable and are the most common examples found in circulation. The Denver Mint also contributed a large mintage marked with a small d on the obverse. These coins are likewise widely available today and form a significant part of the coin's surviving population. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins with an S mint mark intended. Specifically for collectors, these proofs were struck with polished dies and specially prepared planchets, giving them a mirror-like finish and a sharper level of detail compared to regular business strikes. Although the 1972 Jefferson nickel does not contain silver, unlike wartime nickels from 1942 to 1945, it still holds collectible value due to its place in the long-running Jefferson series and the variations that appear in different examples. Collectors often examine these coins for condition strike quality and any noticeable die varieties. Variety hunters sometimes search for errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, and die clashing, which can create unique collectibles. Some 1972 nickels show full steps detail on Monticello, a feature highly prized by collectors because it indicates a strong and accurate strike that preserved the fine architectural lines of Jefferson's home. The circulation of the 1972 nickel also reflects the economic landscape of the early 1970s. Inflation was rising, and coins were being handled heavily in commerce, which means that high-grade examples today are less common. The wear and tear of daily use made pristine pieces rare, so collectors often turn to uncirculated rolls, mint sets, and proof sets to find the best preserved coins. The Jefferson nickel itself continued to be an important coin in American commerce as it was widely used for vending machines, transportation fares, and general transactions making. It was one of the most circulated denominations of the period. For a 2-hour documentary-style video, the story of the 1972 Jefferson nickel can expand into the broader history of the Jefferson series, exploring how Felix Schlag won the design competition, how the mint modified his original designs, how technology changed coin production over the decades, and how the series evolved from 1938 up to the early 1970s. You can discuss the cultural impact of Jefferson as a figure, the architecture of Monticello, and how American coinage reflects national heritage and artistic choices. The script can also explore minting technology from planche preparation and die engraving to striking pressure and quality control to help viewers understand how each 1972 nickel was created. Another important part of the story is how the 1972 Jefferson nickel fits into the timeline of U.S. economic trends as coins circulated heavily and the mint worked to meet national coin demand. You can explain how mintage numbers varied by year, how the mint forecasted public needs, and how coin distribution impacted what people found in their pockets every day. The documentary can further highlight the collector market, discussing grading standards, third-party grading companies, population reports, and auction records. Although most 1972 nickels are common, some high-grade full steps examples are quite valuable due to their scarcity and the difficulty of finding flawless strikes. By the end of this video, viewers will have traveled through American history, minting technology, artistic development, and numismatic tradition, all through the lens of the 1972 Jefferson nickel, showing how even a simple 5-cent coin holds an entire world of heritage craftsmanship and historical context within its small metal surface. As the story of the 1972 Jefferson nickel continues, it becomes clear that the coin is more than just a circulating piece of metal, because it represents a long chapter in the evolution of American coinage. The Jefferson nickel series had already become one of the most familiar designs in U.S. currency by the early 1970s, partly because its overall appearance had remained consistent for decades. Unlike other denominations that had undergone major redesigns or special commemorative issues, the nickel maintained strong continuity, making each yearly issue a reflection of subtle changes in minting technology and national trends rather than dramatic shifts in design. The 1972 nickel comes after a decade of significant developments at the United States Mint. The 1960s had brought rising production needs due to population growth and increasing commercial activity, and the mint responded by upgrading machinery, improving die preparation methods, and refining planche quality. By 1972, these improvements allowed for more consistent strikes and higher production numbers, which explains why so many coins from this year were minted. This was particularly important because the nickel was one of the workhorses of American commerce, used in transportation services, payphones, vending machines, laundromats, and thousands of everyday purchases, ensuring that the nation needed a steady supply. Even though the coin appears simple at first glance, the process of creating a Jefferson nickel involves complex craftsmanship. The master hub contains the original details of the design and is used to create working dies that strike the coins. In 1972, die wear was still a major challenge because coins were produced in massive quantities and dies could deteriorate quickly, leading to weakness in the Monticello steps or flattening in Jefferson's hair details. Collectors today study these small details to distinguish high-quality strikes from average ones, and to classify varieties that arise when multiple dies produce slightly different appearances. This is why The 1972 series has several minor varieties, some of which are sought after by numismatists, who enjoy exploring the network of die lines and small variations that reveal how the mint operated that year. The economic environment of 1972 also influenced the coin landscape. The United States had recently moved off the gold standard, and inflation was becoming a noticeable factor. Everyday Americans relied heavily on coinage for exact change, so durability became a primary consideration for the mint. The Lincoln Cent 1997 holds a significant place in American numismatic history as part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial Reverse Design series that began in 1959 and continued through 2008. This coin represents the later years of the memorial design and was struck during a time when the United States Mint was refining its production processes and transitioning into modern minting technology. The 1997 Lincoln Cent was minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with no mint mark for Philadelphia and a small D mint mark for Denver. These coins were struck in large numbers with billions produced, ensuring they were widely circulated across the United States. The composition of the 1997 cent continued the same copper-plated zinc formula that had been introduced in 1982 due to the rising cost of copper. Each coin was made of 975% zinc and 25% copper plating, giving it the familiar reddish appearance while being far less expensive to produce than the older all-copper cents. The obverse design features the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln created by Victor David Brenner, which first appeared on the Lincoln Cent in 1909. This portrait had become one of the most recognized and respected designs in American coinage history, symbolizing honesty, leadership, and the enduring legacy of one of the nation's most beloved presidents. The reverse of the 1997 cent displays the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparro. The design not only pays tribute to the great structure in Washington, D.C., but also contains a subtle image of Lincoln seated within the memorial, making this the only circulating U.S. coin at the time to depict the same person on both sides. The Lincoln Cent of 1997 circulated widely in everyday commerce, but it also attracted interest from collectors due to the potential for minor variations and minting errors such as double dies, die cracks, and off-center strikes. These error coins could significantly increase the value of a 1997 cent, depending on the type and severity of the minting flaw. While most 1997 cents remain common and hold only face value, pristine examples with full red luster and high grades, certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC, can be of interest to collectors, particularly those seeking to complete Lincoln Memorial cent sets. The minting process of 1997 was marked by advancements in DI creation and quality control, as the U.S. Mint continued improving production efficiency and consistency. Coin presses became more automated and accurate, leading to better struck coins with sharper details. However, variations still occurred, which add to the fascination of coin collectors studying this era. The Lincoln Cent itself is deeply rooted in American symbolism. Since its introduction in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the longest-running design in U.S. coin history. By the late 1990s, it had become an everyday piece of Americana, a symbol of perseverance and a tribute to the nation's 16th president. The 1997 issue in particular was minted during a decade of technological expansion and growing public interest in coin collecting, fueled by state quarter programs and numismatic awareness. Although it was not a commemorative issue, the 1997 Lincoln Cent still serves as a historical snapshot of the United States in the late 20th century, reflecting economic trends, the evolution of minting technology, and the continuing admiration for Lincoln's legacy. Millions of these coins remain in circulation today, though many have developed wear and discoloration over the decades. Still, they serve as reminders of a long-running American tradition, each cent carrying a piece of history in its simple yet powerful design for collectors. The 1997 Lincoln Cent represents an essential part of the Memorial series, bridging the classic and modern eras of U.S. coinage. Its story is one of continuity, craftsmanship, and national pride, making it a fascinating subject for study and appreciation among both casual collectors and dedicated numismatists. The 1997 Lincoln cent stands as an important piece of American numismatic and cultural history, reflecting nearly 9 decades of evolution since the Lincoln penny's debut in 1909. By the late 1990s, the coin had become not just a medium of exchange, but a powerful symbol of the American spirit of unity and perseverance. During this period, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins each year to meet circulation demands across a growing economy. The 1997 cent was a product of both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with combined mintage exceeding 10 billion pieces. These figures demonstrate the immense scale of coin production in the modern minting era and highlight the cent's enduring importance in everyday commerce. Despite inflation and changing spending habits, the Lincoln cent remained one of the most recognized and cherished coins in American pockets. The obverse of the 1997 Lincoln cent retained Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design that had appeared on the cent since 1909 and became one of the most famous images in U.S. coinage history. Brenner's original concept was influenced by his admiration for Lincoln as a symbol of freedom and equality. His initials VDB, which had been removed shortly after the first 1909 issue due to public criticism, were later restored in small form on the coin's truncation, where they appeared on the 1997 cent as well. This small detail connects the 1997 issue directly to the cent's earliest history, linking modern minting with its origins in the early 20th century. The reverse design by Frank Gasparo, first introduced in 1959, replaced the original wheat ears reverse and depicted the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Gasparo's design was both architectural and symbolic, capturing the grandeur of the monument dedicated to Lincoln's memory. While also hiding a tiny but meaningful artistic feature, the figure of Abraham Lincoln seated inside the memorial, visible with magnification, this made the Lincoln cent unique among circulating U.S. coins, as it displayed the same individual on both sides, something unmatched in American numismatic history. The 1997 cent also reflects the technological and economic conditions of its era. The transition from copper to copper-plated zinc that began in 1982 was fully established by 1997. The change was driven by rising metal costs that made the production of pure copper cents uneconomical by the 1990s. This new composition, consisting of a 9.75% zinc core with a thin copper plating, had become the standard for all 1-cent coins. This composition reduced costs while maintaining the coin's traditional appearance, though it also led to new issues such as zinc corrosion or blistering in older coins when exposed to moisture. For collectors, 1997 cents, in pristine red uncirculated condition, are particularly sought after as they retain the bright original color that quickly fades with exposure to air and handling, in terms of quality and striking. The 1997 production year was relatively consistent, though the vast number of coins produced inevitably led to minor variations. Collectors often search for error varieties, such as doubled dies, repunched mint marks, broad strikes, and off-center strikes among the 1997 issues. While these errors are rare compared to the total number minted, they can make individual coins worth several times their face value in the coin collecting world. Even small differences or imperfections become treasures as they tell stories of the minting process itself. The 1997 Lincoln cent also came at a time when the U.S. Mint was embracing new technologies for die preparation and coin production. Laser engraving and improved die steel were becoming standard, allowing for greater precision and longevity in the dies used to strike coins. These innovations meant sharper designs, fewer weak strikes, and overall better quality coins reaching circulation. Although these advancements were mostly behind the scenes, they mark the beginning of a new era of coinage that would carry into the 21st century. Historically, the late 1990s represented a stable period in American coinage, with the Lincoln cent still serving as a cornerstone of everyday commerce. Even as discussions about its future had already begun, economists and policymakers debated the usefulness of the penny given its low purchasing power and the costs of production. Yet public sentiment remained deeply attached to the Lincoln cent. Americans saw it as more than just a coin. It was a connection to history, to President Lincoln, and to the ideals of equality and perseverance that defined his leadership. The 1997 cent is part of this emotional continuity, symbolizing a century of trust and tradition beyond circulation. The Lincoln cent continued to inspire collectors worldwide. By the 1990s, Lincoln Memorial cents had become one of the most popular series for beginning collectors because they were affordable, accessible, and rich with history, completing a full date and mint mark set from 1959 through 1997 represented both an achievable goal and a journey through American history, touching on changes in metal composition design technology and minting philosophy. Each coin from the series, including the 1997 issue, holds a story of its own.